views, new visions, new victories. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're taking public media black.
Get out my head and into the bed, girl. Cause you don't know, plotting out the fantasy. Hey baby girl, and it's you are the key. Yo, because of then, from you looking at me, I girl, me say you want me. When you gonna give it up to me? Because your body enticing me, making me horny. When you gonna give it up to me? Well, if I not today, girl, then I must see tomorrow. When you fulfill my fantasy, because you know I give you love is straight like an arrow. When you gonna give it up to me? So back it up there, so back it up, yeah. Cause I wanna be the man that's really gonna have it up and mock it up and slap it up, yeah. So what is up, yeah? You know you got this thing and I'm about to develop and I swell up and double up, yeah. So give me the work, yeah. Cause if you not give it up, the blue balls are erupt, yeah. So rev it up, the girl want try your luck, make. Cause when you stir it up, you know me have to measure up, yeah. From you looking at me, I girl, me say you want me. When you gonna give it up to me? Because your body enticing me, making me horny. When you gonna give it up to me?
Welcome back into hour 3, the after hours of RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Of course, this is the show where we hit all the trending topics and headlines across entertainment, sports, lifestyle, and culture. And hour 3 is the after hours. It's where we get a little looser, get into some of the more salacious topics of the day. And, here's a reminder. If you want to add your 2 cents to any of this, 800-920-1580. Hit us up on social media, KBLA 1580. I'm, of course, at Stiletto Jill. Trent Jackson, our guest contributor of the night. You're at Trent the Artist.
Yes.
And so Omarion, he is on a press tour right now. And he recently sat down with Hollywood Unlocked's Jason Lee. And
that came out today?
Or yesterday, one of the two.
I saw
Haven't watched the full interview yet.
Yeah.
But in one of the clips that was shared, Jason shared that Omarion met Karrueche first. And so they have a conversation about Omarion being unbothered long before people knew him as Unbothered O. And, he gets into the story and seemingly CB might have responded. So let's hear what Omarion had to say. No? Okay. Oh, in that clip? Oh, I must have sent the wrong clip. Well, dang it. Maybe we'll talk about that later then. So here's the thing, real quick. I'll give you basically what he said. Jason said that he was having an event. He invited some girls. Karrueche was among them. Karrueche and O were vibing, but something happened and she ended up with Chris Brown, right? Chris Brown, maybe talking about this, maybe not. We know CB is active on the social media things. So he could have been talking about anything, but in his Instagram story, he said, man, if you don't get your lame bleep on somewhere, ninjas be reaching for the stars, right? So, you got a clip? We gonna play it? Okay, let's play it.
One of the girls that try to hook you up with a lot of people don't know is Karrueche.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that?
Uh-huh.
Me, Chris Brown, and Omarion, y'all were brothers.
Yeah.
Right? One night, they said, bring all these girls. So I brought all these girls. And one of the girls was Karrueche.
Right.
Do you remember that night? Y'all were kind of feeling each other. And
that's true.
I thought y'all were going to be a thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And then she was on Media Takeout with Chris.
Right.
And you never say anything. What? If I was you, I would,
Come on now, you got to be unbothered.
You've been unbothered for a long time.
So here's my thing. One, I believe that men in general, but especially men in entertainment sports, they love a referral. Let's not play with ourselves. So that's why I thought that the athletes the other day, Gilbert Arenas, Kenyon Martin, Brandon Jennings, when they were talking about, oh, woe is me, I'm introducing this woman to the lifestyle and she's going to date a teammate. It's such a hard life for us. You target women that other men that you admire have dated, right? I'm not saying that all the women are a rite of passage, but sometimes hey, he had her, I want her too. Because that means that I'm that guy too. You know, sometimes it's purely ego. Sometimes it may be some other psychological things that we can examine at another time. But I think that this idea that it's just the women going crazy and being groupies, and that these men, you know, the same thing you saw in her, you think the next guy doesn't? Is it supposed to be exclusive for you? That doesn't stop any of them for talking to as many women as they want to. So I think it's kind of, you know, hypocritical to get at these types of women, especially when you know the type of women that you are going after that make you feel manly. You aren't happy to be booed up with the girl that is, you know, working at a call center. Not like that, not saying that you won't talk to her, but you know, you want the Instagram popping girl, the actress, the model, the, you know, the popular girl in the local city. Why are we playing? They like popularity too. Andy?
It just goes to show that these cats really ain't friends or homies.
They'll do it to their friend and homie too.
Exactly.
Sometimes.
Grimy. All of these cats are grimy.
In competition. You know, I mean, we keep hearing about it. We saw what or heard what Cameron did. Not that he and Joe Smith were friends. He doesn't owe him a single thing. But at the same time, this woman's married and you are shooting your shot shamelessly on camera as a professional with no thoughts about it, right? And I laughed. I thought it was, you know, I was tickled by it, but I knew what the game is. But when you really think about it, why is it, even if you feel like she is the type of woman, let's say that is the excuse because she was an adult entertainer, that you can treat her differently than the, you know, girl next door? Why would you? Why? So, I don't know. Those are just my quick thoughts. Your thoughts?
I think Jason Lee likes to stir the pot.
Of course.
And Omari is a Scorpio. It's Scorpio season. They don't care about anything but
a Scorpio trying to play games with two Tauruses. Let's start there. The opposite.
So it's just it's a triad of mess, because it's just people are just like Andy said, there's no friendship, there's no loyalty, there's no camaraderie. So if you have scandalous just snakes around you, then you eventually become one, so you don't get bit.
That is a good, you become a product. You are the monster
Yeah.
that they accused you of being because you've been exposed to it all.
Correct. So I mean, you know what you're getting involved in when you do stuff like that. Just like these girls know what they're signing up for when they date all the friends of the friends.
I mean, and listen, the same thing that he saw in me, he gonna see in me too.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you a baddie.
Yeah.
Andy.
I'm glad you brought that up, Trent.
What happened? What did I bring up?
Because Jill, I respect, you know, you going in on the dudes. I get that. But let's go in on the women who are dealing with the same people in the same circle. I get it, get yours and all that, but like, shouldn't there be some sort of code in that? Like, why are you gonna mess with? You know what I'm saying?
There is a code, Andy. It's get the money, get the clout, get the Instagram likes, ride the wave.
I'm not gonna let y'all do that. I'm gonna add a little texture. I'm gonna add a layer to it.
Well,
I'm gonna add a layer to it. When we come forward, I'm gonna tell you the layer that is missing that we have to include in this conversation. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain, Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles is a nonprofit law firm that protects and advances the rights of the most underserved, leveling the playing field and ensuring that everyone can have access to the justice system. Every year, LAFLA provides free, high-quality legal services to more than 100,000 people living in poverty across greater Los Angeles. Their unique combination of neighborhood offices, self-help centers at courthouses, and domestic violence clinics puts Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles on the front lines in vulnerable communities and at the forefront of change. LAFLA's expert team of attorneys, paralegals, and support staff works to provide direct representation, offer counsel and advice, provide referrals, and educate the community about their legal rights through workshops and seminars. With locations all over LA, you can access their services or volunteer to help no matter where you live. And if you have an urgent issue, call 213-235-0060. That's 213-235-0060. To get legal help, make a donation, or volunteer, visit lafla.org. lafla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So here's the thing. Are there some women that will homie hop? Absolutely. But I think, and I'm going to talk about this specific type of situation when we're talking about maybe teammates or rappers or actors and those type of girls, right? So here's the thing, and I will forever stand on this hill, right? When you treat someone as disposable, which is a lot of times what access to many women without having to put in too much work or value on these situations does, you begin to treat them like you do, Kleenex or, toothpaste. Is something that's going to be there. It's there. I can use it as my leisure and dispose of it, right? So then people begin to feel the same way about you. And sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes, right, if you're really trying to date a guy in this situation, you see him just toss you to the side or get at a girl he knows that's your friend, revenge kicks in, especially if you're young. And so it's oh, that's what we're doing? Well, now I'm going to hurt you back, right? I'm not saying that is every situation. I'm not saying that it is an excuse, but sometimes some of the reasons why you see the A to B's, the friends making the move, sometimes it's scorn and it's I'm getting my lick back, right? And it's those games. Again, and not saying it's acceptable, because sometimes the women get left and they're like, oh, you left me? I'm going to go and show you. I'm going to get somebody with a bigger contract, a bigger name, a bigger situation, and you're going to feel small. And, they will shoot their shot trying to make that scenario be real. Terry in the chat says, it sounds like his college frat life, he was an alpha phi alpha man. The frats and sorors party and slept together. We had a vital sex life. And he says, women pass men around too. I do believe that there are some friend groups and some women that will be like, man, maybe you should try this, or, oh, I don't mind, or, oh, girl, he's a trick, go get yours. That all of those things happen. So, if everybody is on board, fair exchange is no robbery. If that's not your thing, kindly bypass. Not my thing, so there you go. Trent?
Yeah, like he said, women pass men around, so it's the name of the game. So when people at that point, a one-off, sure, you don't really know what to expect. It's your first time at the rodeo, but if you have a bad experience or a good experience, kind of know what to expect. So you go in knowing, and you keep engaging in these circles, knowing what to get. So everybody is a participant in the wheel.
And speaking of, we're gonna go back to Omarion, a Scorpio
Scorpio season.
and his Sagittarius ex-girlfriend, kid's mom, April. And I think Lil Fizz is a Sag too. So that's an interesting triangulation
You can't
situation.
trust any Sagittarius.
Two people trying to get revenge back on their Scorpio. Let's see who can jar them into, action or sting the best. So let's check out what Omarion had to say about Lil Fizz and April hooking up.
Fizz dating April. You get betrayed in public and still give people grace.
Yeah.
And you might be dancing on Omarion, singing on Omarion. You a from Inglewood.
So you know what that means, right?
I don't know what it is. I'm gonna let you tell me. But what
Okay.
is that where you did not come unhinged?
That we all reap what we sow, you know what I mean? And whatever energy and whatever intent that we create, especially if it's a negative one, you're gonna get it back tenfold. Pain hit different when you gotta sit in it, you know what I'm saying?
I
And
felt that one.
So,
Baby, because ain't you going through that right now? You're sitting in that pain because you created that mess. That's crazy. That is insane, and I love it.
but let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you think Omarion is as zen and unbothered
No.
as okay.
No.
Okay.
Because that's Scorpios are sneaky. I'm not saying that they lie, quoting Monique and Precious. I'm not saying that they lie, but you just got to watch them.
Facts. Andy?
Man, shout out to the homie Omarion, man. Class of '98, John Bros. You already know what it is. But
Oh, stop playing.
are you
I'm
hating Trent?
I'm harassing you, Andy.
Okay, class of '98. You already know what it is, JB.
Who was in junior high school in '98?
Andy
Me.
and
You
Omari.
keep talking about I'm young and
Andy and
cracking on
Omari.
me. I was driving the car by that time.
But I agree with you, Trent. I do think he's definitely bothered, but he's not going to show it.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's just holding all that stuff in, and I think his response to Jason Lee, I mean, it's apropos. I think I think that's the way he's deciding to move, because if he added more fuel to the fire, what's the point? It's just going to be even more ugly and ugly. Just let it be and move on. And he's Omarion. I mean, he can get any chick if he wants.
You're right. He is bothered because he's a Scorpio. Water signs always tend to be bothered whether we lead on or not. Okay. But Jason said something very interesting that led me to believe that this is why I said Omari is not as calm and collected as he says that he is. Because Jason, the operative statement in that whole thing was, you get, what word did he use? He said something in public. Was it? But yes, you get betrayed in public, right? All the time. And the response was, or something like that. But see, when you get betrayed in public, that means that you're plotting in private.
Facts on facts. I also took, here's the thing, the other part of it is his response was, I'm from Inglewood, or Jason said, you from Inglewood, and he was like, facts. So this is my thing. If you weren't bothered, why are we going back to your Inglewood roots? I know what that implies.
Because he's plotting in private.
Right. I know what that implies.
Like a Scorpio, I'm not saying that they lie. You just got to watch them.
Yeah. Hilarious. I mean, the thing is, though, I think there is very much something to be said about you sitting in the situations that you put yourself into.
Yes.
And
can we talk about that? Let's unpack that.
Go ahead. Unpack.
No, it's you.
I mean, I said what I had to say. There is something to having to sit in, fully reckon with taking the accountability that I put myself here, or even if I didn't totally put myself here, I did some things that have allowed me to be boxed in to this situation in a way that's not fruitful for me.
The universe always has a way of showing you, especially when you run away from taking accountability and responsibility for the things that you do and how you treat people. So sit in it and marinate as long as you have to, and then put yourself in the oven and cook.
Okay. See if it's tasty. All right, so listen. Miss Pat, she's a comedian. You know, she has the Miss Pat show on BET Plus.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was on the Breakfast Club. And so the conversation turned to she's been married for 30 years. And she says she never worries about her husband cheating or any of that type of stuff, right? Basically not because of, you know, anything other than that is where they are in their relationship. They talk, they communicate, they have that understanding, right? But she had some words for the youth, the young ladies, as to why she believes they are unable to have fruitful connections in this current era.
I've been married 30-some years. He ain't cheating.
That's right.
He ain't got time.
Drop on the clues bomb for Miss Pat's husband.
He got a name. Say his name.
Faithful black man.
My husband's name is Garrett. I've never had a cheating problem out of it. And that's just my second one.
Look at God.
I feel like that's rare.
No, well, the problem is y'all just give it up too quick.
Okay, talk to Miss Pat.
Y'all be
You
you know what's wrong with y'all young
Tell him,
girls?
Miss Pat.
Y'all be out here showing everything. It's nothing for the man to desire. Everybody want to be like Sexy Ray. Nothing wrong with it. That lady's performing. But y'all be running around here at Walmart with your cats hanging out, your butts, everything.
They gotta let it
fake.
breathe. That STI kicking their ass, Miss Pat. They got to let it breathe.
Well, then that's why you pass gas to let the STDs vaporize out your butt. Yeah, that's the problem. Y'all too quick to jump in it. We had a 90-day rules. You had to date somebody for 90 days.
Joan Clayton, let's go.
I don't think that 90-day rule didn't work no more.
You're not listening with the intent to understand. You want to reply.
You was with him for a whole year before you went and did something nasty and freaky. Y'all do it right there behind Taco Bell.
Damn.
Wait, huh?
I'm just saying, y'all young girls, y'all, then you wonder why you ain't got no man. Then you wonder why you...
Listen, I think that there is some credence to what she is saying. Not that, you know, there's a lot of people in the comments like, oh, men are going to cheat no matter what you're wearing. She was not speaking about cheating, and I find it interesting that the first thought and conversation goes to whether or not he's cheating. That is not what she was speaking on. She, to me, was speaking on the lack of commitment, the lack of desire for men and perhaps women to actually get into a real relationship, a real connection, right? Because one, you can see a lot of things available. You know, people are a lot more open. And no, that doesn't mean that you are loose or those type of things, but it does take away some of the mystery sometimes for some men, right? It's not intriguing to them. Two, right? If you are having sex after a week, there's no buildup, right? And if you are trying to be the baddest chick on the planet, freak him out in the first thing, there's also no buildup. You can't like give him the whole cake and wonder why he doesn't want a slice 2 months later. He ate that. He had it. We moved on from it. I don't know. I just think that I know that it's not the same time period and things don't move the same. And there are a lot of things that are beneficial in this era for young ladies. I think that there was a lot of, slut shaming and things of that nature unnecessarily. But at the same time, I do think that there's something to be said about slowing down maybe things a little bit, or like really connecting and getting to know someone and not just coming to slap together. Y'all not even having a good time because you don't even know each other and what each other likes. Andy?
You could wait for 90 days. You could wait for a year. You finally get it and you still leave.
True, but here's the thing about that. It's no one's saying that it's going to prevent you from necessarily not leaving or not having a bad experience. But here's the thing. I could get to know you and not like you as a person in those 90 days. Whereas on day 15, I might have wanted to, exchange bodily fluids with you. Day 45, I might be like, And the only way that you can get to know some of those things is through conversation, communication, and shared time. Trent?
That whole conversation made me itch because while she has valid points, I believe people who sit up and make comments like that who got married in the 90s are totally out of touch because, number one, you got married to a different type of man in a different time. Those people don't exist anymore. So to make a comparison about what a man who has a different mindset from 40 years ago at this point, 40 years later, when the whole culture has been dumbed down and we've got these apps, again, these apps have taken place. And in the women's defense, a lot of these girls feel like they have to take off their clothes and have to reveal themselves to compete, even to get attention, because guys are not looking at anybody in a turtleneck.
I mean, no,
So-
I'm a woman, so I can relate to that.
So
I
these
feel
young
that.
girls feel that they have to compete and take off their clothes because of society and these apps and this instant gratification that is now the norm in this hookup society that we live in. So the mindset is not to be committed or to get to know anybody or to be married. It's to look cute. It's to get likes. It's to hook up.
And I understand that, but I think the flip side of that, right? And again, I'm not taking anything away from that, and I understand that is the question, how's it working out for you? And when I say that, that is not any shade. That is, how do you feel about
Right.
that? Like, I know some women, right, even from back in the day, that were like, listen, I'm about my coin, so we can hook up on that level. I also know some women that are like, hey, I like sex. You look good. Let's get it popping.
Yeah.
And then, kept it moving. So for me, I think that one, if you are okay with where you are in those interpersonal relationships and you feel good and you like the way you're slipping and sliding, that's one thing. But if you're slipping and sliding, dipping and dodging, and those likes aren't making you happy, you won't feel connected, then you got to reevaluate and maybe
Yes.
do something different.
And that's what it's going to take. It's people's personal. After you go through a whole thing, I don't like the way this feels. Self-reflection, you're going to make some changes, but you've got to be the one to make those changes. It all seems fun right now because you're swiping and having fun and taking pictures, but because you're disconnected and you haven't made any connections out of all these connections that you've made, it's going to leave you in an empty place for sure.
Right. And so I think that is, I'm not, experience is the best teacher. And sometimes that is unfortunate as heck.
It's hard sometimes. Yeah.
And so I don't begrudge these young ladies, and I know why they have to, the pressure, and you want to feel free. And sometimes you just feel beautiful that way too. Like, dang, I look good. Dang, my thigh is thighin' today. What? I want you to see. So I get it in all of those levels, but sometimes I think it's okay to change it up. If your go-to is always sexy, cleavage popping, you could see, I'm a baddie with my panties. Maybe one day try to be a baddie in some cargos or something. I mean, I'm not saying every time, but switch it up. Let your essence flow besides something more than just what you have on to see if it changes the results you're given. Now, if you're happy with everything that is coming in the way that it's going in, don't change a thing. Rock out, baby girl. I am with you. I'm just saying, try some different things for balance sake, right? Mm-hmm. Peace and love. Okay, when we come forward, we're going to get into Whoopi Goldberg's comments that y'all really just lazy and don't want to work. All of that and more. You were locked into
Coming from a
RSVP
boomer.
with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Feel my fantasy because you know I give you love is straight like an arrow. When you're gonna give it up to me, so why can't you see we ought to be together, girl? Don't front on me. I just wanna be near, so don't have no fear. Let me see you bring your body right over here because you should share.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. The district is officially welcoming its top cop. Pamela Smith has been confirmed as D.C.'s chief of police. The vote came nearly 4 months after she was nominated and will go down in history. Smith is the first black woman to ever lead the agency. Council members praised her neighborhood walks and said her leadership style gives the community hope. The 55-year-old takes over as violent crime soars 40% and the city deals with 800 plus carjackings. Democrats won in Virginia and protected reproductive freedom. That's what Black Vice President Kamala Harris posted last night on X. The election results put an end to a possible 15-week abortion ban in the state. Governor Glenn Youngkin had called his plan a reasonable solution for those who disagreed with the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade last year. Democrats want to keep the current restrictions in place, which allow abortions through the second trimester. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Make your next lunch a lunch combo from Buffalo Wild Wings. Choose from wings, street tacos, and more. Head to Buffalo Wild Wings or order online at buffalowildwings.com at participating locations for a limited time, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Price and participation vary by location. Taxes extra. See menu for details.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Boldly taking talk radio where it has never gone before. New vistas, new voices, new views, new visions, new victories. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're taking public media black. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions because we've got your black. Listen up. If you're one of the more than 100,000 California tenants who were rejected or delayed when applying for COVID rental assistance, you've got a second chance. Under the terms of a new settlement, California's Housing and Community Development Department agreed to audit its past denials. The program ended in March 2022, but the advocacy groups, Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment, Policy Link, and Strategic Actions for a Just Economy sued the department. According to the coalition's analysis of state data, the department rejected nearly 30% of all applicants. Under the settlement, the department agreed to clear all renters in the pipeline within 6 months. The settlement applies to anyone who sought assistance from the state's Housing is Key program before April 1st, 2022, whose applications is pending or was denied after June 6, 2022. Tenants who have questions about the status of their application can call the hotline at 833-430-2122. That's 833-430-2122. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, Maisha Cairo here, KBLA, live at Chase Bank on Crenshaw and Vernon for the In This Together tour with female business owners, a day of empowerment, community panels, and best of all, tips on building business from marketing to capital. I was able to speak with one of the panelists, the owner of Kids Love. Take a listen.
So Kids Love, KIDSLUV, is a first-to-market zero-sugar, vitamin-enhanced functional beverage for kids.
So the zero sugar is really important because if not, the sugar gets on the teeth, it can cause cavities. So as a mom, I love this vitamins and hydration in one. Tell us what's happening here with Chase Bank today.
So I would say, I think what Chase is trying to do is create a community actually for entrepreneurs, a place where people can go. They have the space to do it. It's a beautiful space. And to be able to have these conversations. There are so many benefits to being a women-owned and certified business from a standpoint of getting into stores, not paying the slotting fees of what it takes to be in stores. So I think Chase is trying to bring awareness to a lot of the things that people just don't know about, that not only the bank can help, but outside of the bank, their relationships can help create.
That's beautiful. And I know, this is how we build equity in communities of color, is kind of spreading that information and that knowledge. So thank you for being here today and doing your part and letting these women know that it is possible.
For KBLA 1580, I'm Maisha Cairo in the community with Chase.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, can potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
In front of Gucci in the winter, I seen you with your girls walking, in your chinchilla fur. I was laid up in the coupe back straight up, looking at your face just pure with no makeup. A little bit of MAC lip gloss, hair in a bun, well done. Looking for a ring, I seen none, so I hopped out the coupe and hot pursuit to stop and introduce like I'm shining. You my destiny in your diamond cluster. Too much just to touch ya. Perfume down to your structure. Think I wait till the second night to yeah, I wanna marry you. Nah, I'm just playing. We could start with a few nights out in Malibu, surfing, laying up on Persians. Here's my number, put it in your purse and call me.
On the telephone, she heard my voice. Tell me to pick her up in my Rolls Royce. If my Rolls Royce is not for ladies, then girl, I'm gonna take you in my Mercedes. If my Mercedes would have full up of the disease, then girl, I'm gonna take you in my Firebird. If my Firebird cannot take the curve, girl, put your ass on the dumb metro bus.
Welcome back in, VIPs. You're rocking out to Bonnie and Shine.
I really thought Andy came in with that Grace Jones. I was like, wait.
No.
And then it was Shine.
It was Shine.
Yes.
Shout out to that. You know, that is one of my favorite cuts. Like, I really like that.
I like that song because of Grace Jones.
I like that one. It just gave me a feeling. It was a vibe. It was a time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a little sexy, man. Like, get up on the hood. Ma, I ain't done yet. You know, all of that. That was the thing. Happy birthday to Shine. What is his position in Belize? Like, does he still have that government position? I can't remember. I'm going to look it up. But anyway, shout out to him.
I wanted to call him Prime Minister.
Was he a Prime Minister?
Yeah, I want to say that.
I feel like that's what it was, but I thought that sounded too grand. But maybe that's it.
Let me look it up real quick.
Urban Spinster in the chat says, Andy got me over here boogieing to Shine. Now, you know, Andy, Urban Spinster said to you, Trent, you know Andy's not about to play Grace.
We don't know that because Andy's catalog goes very deep.
Andy surprises me all the time.
So I'm gonna have to disagree with that one. You don't know what Andy's gonna do. He hit us with the slow jams last time. He has a very diverse palette. He came in with that Hall & Oates once.
Right. Yeah.
So you don't know what Andy's gonna pull out.
And shout out to Urban Spinster. She confirmed Prime Minister of Belize. That is his title. So, you know, listen. That's a heck of a turn. That is a heck of a pacing, you know, from where he was, where he started signing with Bad Boy. To be a prime minister of a country, from being a street kid, kind of, on Bad Boy Records, popping off the gun in the club?
I don't think so. It's no different than crazy gun rogue Ronald Reagan in acting and then becoming the president of the United States, or Arnold Schwarzenegger in his white collar crimes becoming the California governor.
All of those things are a crazy trajectory in term, but the difference is, right, so Arnold was poor, but the difference is skin color and financial backing from the start.
All right.
So,
because he did marry in with the Kennedy, the Shrivers, so he
you know, all of that. I think that makes a difference. It's a different story with that aspect.
Because I'd be excited about stuff, you know, and I think about I think people always have certain things in them, and they go and they have life experiences that only lead them to where they're supposed to go.
So here's the thing. I believe that, but I also think in the butterfly effect fashion, there are, like, let's say there are 5 pathways that you can take, and that are your, different versions of you, your highest version of yourself, and maybe your lowest version of the self, depending upon which pathway you take. And so I think that some form of fashion of your destiny will always turn up, but it may not be to the highest caliber, depending upon, which steps you take. So I don't know if that's true, but that's just sort of how my mind formed around that. Speaking of work and putting in the effort, right? Whoopi Goldberg said that she believes that, I don't know if she specifically said millennials or Gen Z, but she said the idea and concept basically that this generation has formed, that I only want to work 4 hours a day, I never want to be inconvenienced, is why, in addition to, inflation and stuff, they're not going to ever own a house. So, let's listen to Whoopi's comments and see if you agree.
Every generation comes and wants to do better than their parents did. Every generation. But I'm sorry, if you only want to work 4 hours, it's going to be harder for you to get a house.
Oh, and don't mention 4 days.
No, but I feel for everybody that feels this, but I'm sorry. We busted our behinds. We had to bust our behinds because we didn't have the option
Y'all gave
of going
us the housing
back.
crisis, though.
Listen, we had all kinds of stuff.
No, it's true, but the one thing I'd say is millennials are statistically the first generation that's likely to do worse off than their parents.
You know what? That's what they said to us as well. Every generation is told you're going to do worse than your parents. And you know what? People pick it up and they do what they do, and they raise themselves, and this is what you got to do.
So, okay,
that last part, I really just have a problem when people say, oh, they need to pick themselves up and raise themselves.
Bootstrapping.
That is not always easy to do, Goldberg. This is your show, not mine.
No, but we want to hear your opinion.
Because I was about to take it far, but it's just like she has a point somewhat, but I'm so irritated with people who have been privileged, at least for the last 40 years, make these comments from a different time and era. And it's when they make these comments, it sounds like, I'm not saying that they do this, but it sounds like they don't factor in all of the things that are happening in society right now and the things that they didn't do in their generation that led us here. There are certain things that my parents did not do that have me in the situation that I'm in right now. It's up to me now to fix that and not blame people. So I guess that's what she's talking about. But people it was that last part is just what really threw me.
Rubs you the wrong way.
Yeah, because people always don't have the opportunities or the wherewithal to pull themselves up because they don't know how to do it.
Do you think that there's a certain level where people are just out of touch, especially when you deal with a lifestyle that affords you that much privilege or wealth, where people are always wanting to please you, so to speak, so you don't really get to touch?
And the out of touchness is on both sides of the spectrum, because you're so used to people appeasing you and doing whatever because you are rich and because you don't have the opportunity to resent it because you're poor. So it goes on both sides of the spectrum, but this side tends to not see the other side because they're not there, and the other side is trying to get there, but they don't have the means or the wherewithal to do it. So I get it, but when you have it and you've worked hard and pulled yourself up at a time where it was easy for you to do so, how many for instance, in Whoopi Goldberg's case, we know what she does for a living. How many times in her lifetime did she have to deal with a strike that altered her ability to get work or make work?
This would be the third time.
Okay, the third time. In how many years? In the last, 5 or 10 years?
No,
so she amassed all her wealth a long time ago.
There was a strike in 87 or something like that. There was one that was in 2007 or something like that, 2008-ish. And then there's this current one. What I will say, though,
the one in 87 probably affected her most, if at all, versus the other two.
So let me flip that back on you. While that is fair, there also were less outlets, venues, and places for her to showcase her work. There also was less acceptance for someone like her. I think here's the thing. One, there are more ways to get it now than there were for an older generation, just like there were more ways for them to get it than there were for their parents. You know, technology is a game changer.
Yes.
It is an equalizer in a lot of ways. There are a lot more ways to become a star and to actually monetize that and make a living for that than there was even just 10 years ago.
For sure.
Right?
Yes.
And in theory, right, because that option is there. I know when I went back to my college campus, it was a complete switch. I was a communications major, right? That wasn't a super, communications is a popular major, but it wasn't super popular. When I went back to visit my campus a couple years ago, there's a waiting list to get on a Cal State communications program because so many of the college students want to be influencers or want to make money online. And that is a real thing, something that you can learn more about in college, get a degree in, that wasn't available to
And
us
it changes
in the
all
past.
the time.
And it changes all the time, but the money along with that changes too. So I'm just saying, sometimes that idea, hey, I could just pop online. Why would I go to work for $15, $20 an hour where there's the potential, really, I can make one video and make $15,000. That mindset wasn't presented in the past because there weren't real options
To do it.
that.
Mhm.
And so I think that some of that is what feeds into maybe the entitlement or the lack of desire to work as hard because there are things that are seemingly easier to make money and to make way more money than the stuff that
Doing
y'all
less.
talking about putting in that work. When we hold your pen, put a pen in your
I just want to say
want
this real quick. I just don't think that people are lazy in this generation. I just think that the work ethic is different because there wasn't a lot of training from the analog world that switched over to the digital world.
Fair enough. When we come forward, we'll have more on this topic, more with Trent the Artist, more trending topics and headlines. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The City of Los Angeles Civil Rights Department and its Reparations Advisory Commission are calling on you to be a part of something powerful. Join the Black Experience Study to share your experiences with the City of Los Angeles. We want to hear your stories. To join the study, join a focus group, or schedule an interview with us, visit www.blackexperiencela.com by December 31st. For more information, call 213-978-1845 or visit www.laisforeveryone.com.
Your floors can go from clean to dirty fast. From juice spills, whoops, to muddy paw prints, to little sticky finger marks. Good thing your Swiffer WetJet works fast too. Swiffer WetJet easily cleans everyday messes as quick as they happen. The next mess is right around the corner. So grab your Swiffer WetJet and just spray, push, all clean.
Nissan has a car for every driver who wants more. More action. More fun. More guts. More head turns. More adventure. More electric. At Nissan, more is all we do.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA reminds you that when we fight, we win, and we don't black down. LA Community Action Network, or LA CAN, was formed in 1999 when 25 residents of downtown LA came together and acknowledged the problems that existed in their community and made a commitment to do something about those problems, to stand together, organize, and become a force in the community that demands change. Civil rights and preventing the criminalization of poverty are their core projects. In addition, they take on women's rights, the human right to housing, and healthy food access. LA CAN also has projects focused on economic development, civic participation, voter engagement, and community media. While downtown LA remains their home base, with a particular emphasis on the Skid Row community, in 2007, they expanded their housing and healthy food access work into South Central Los Angeles. LA Can believes that power for low-income people and people of color is achieved through a large, active, and well-informed member base that utilizes a multitude of methods to advance their messages and goals. If you'd like to join the Los Angeles Community Action Network and organize people to fight back against oppression, please visit cangress.org. That's cangress.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. As a side beauty tip, Trent isn't aware. I'll let him know this. Shaving is an exfoliating action as well, okay? No matter what the item is, it also exfoliates that
I had to
level
pull
of
myself
skin.
together considering the week that I've had, and I know that people from my Instagram are watching, right? So they knew that I was in the hospital just 24 hours ago looking crazy. I mean, insane. And I said, I was like, I need to shave, and I've got to pull myself together before Wednesday. And here's Wednesday.
It's a form of exfoliation.
Yeah,
So,
and I have to look
news
right.
for you. So listen,
Thank you.
really quickly back on the Whoopi thing. I think that, and we were having this conversation with Andy off air. One, Andy brought up the pandemic, how it changed a lot of people's mindsets, and the, designation between work-life balance and what is important. I also think, from the late 90s through the, 2000s, really probably on up to the pandemic, the idea of, sleep when you dead, I hustle 24/7, that's been embedded in us for quite a while. And, we know that it's not really healthy. And I think that also millennials and maybe even Gen Z, more so than probably Gen Xers, for whatever reasons, probably embrace that more. Like, nope, I'm going to stop and smell my flowers right here today, because what you working hard for and all of this stuff is not promised. And
we see what it got our parents.
Yeah. So, I respect that, and I admire that. I admire that they had the, wherewithal to stand up in the workplace. Now, granted, like I said, we were just trying to make it through and slide and by. Oh, can I slip and slide out of this office? It's 4:45. Can I get out of here and nobody see me, even though I get off at 5:30 if I close my office door and keep the light? Things like that. So I think that Gen X learned to skate and shift and move, and those were valued traits at a time period. But now, with this next generation, it has become more important to stand up and stand out and ask directly for some of the things that we were like, oh, we just gonna take them. We gonna make it a perk. You may not know, but we're gonna figure out how to get our perks off, no matter
If
what.
they don't start their own company and do their own thing.
Facts. Andy?
Have you ever heard of the concept of quiet quitting?
Yes. But here's the thing. Quiet quitting was invented by Gen Xers. That's why we were called slackers. We practice going to work and doing the least amount as possible and staying under the radar so you don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, think about it. Internet chat rooms got popping in the 90s, which, directly led to all of these social media advances. Who do you think were in there?
Me.
Gen Xers, or you borderline cuspers and all of that. And so listen, final thoughts on, we've had two Gen X or boomer women both say, y'all ain't doing it right, right? And on one hand, I think we've talked about unsolicited advice and what that can do for people in return. While I think there's some value in it, we all got to take it with a grain of salt. But do you think there's validity in that some of what they're saying should be adopted by the youth?
I think that in Whoopi's case and in other people's cases, they're a little out of touch because they don't have any direct children in the current environment. They have grandchildren, maybe great grandchildren. So it's a different out of touchness that you don't have directly raising a child. So if you raised a child 40 years ago, the values are not the same. So you can't really comment on what's going on right now because you are not an active parent and you don't know the issues of today. So you need to calm down and relax. It's just like, a person you don't have kids, so you can't, it's the same thing. If you're not a parent, you don't know. So that's one thing. And then two, we've got this whole economic status. I think once people get to a certain level, not all, but certain people, they get to a massive amount of money, and they forget about the time they were broke, or the struggle that it took to get there, and the time.
Or do you think that they romanticize not just the struggle, but the steps that they took to, get out of it?
Sometimes people don't want to talk about what they did to get out of it because it wasn't so kosher and it wasn't so clean like that. Because people be scamming, so it's not necessarily the hard work that they said that it was, so they don't talk about it.
Okay, interesting. I think I do think that you have a very big point about people maybe not being as dialed in or really understanding what it's like.
I
to
think
go
they
through
mean well.
They do mean well.
And I think that they want to talk about the things that are valid. That, I think that when people of a certain age start talking, I think the things that are beneficial to the culture are the things that happen to them maybe racially, that still apply. Maybe economically, but those are the only two things that we can kind of touch on that
I don't know about
transfer a little bit without people getting offended.
You don't think that certain relationship aspects or certain
No.
basic things between can still apply even though the setting is different? I do. I think that is short. So I think that the interpersonal communications are still the same. They just, exist in a different space or covering.
Yeah, I think some of them are universal, but I think that most people are going to do what they want to do in relationships anyway. And it's like you can't really give relationship advice because you don't know what the next person's going to tolerate and what they won't, what they will and what they won't tolerate, what they think is acceptable.
But people giving advice every day. You seen how many channels out there?
It's annoying. Just be quiet and focus on your relationship.
I think sometimes, though, people they want to vent, too. They hurt. They need to let things out.
Oh, don't I know about that? Venting is my thing.
All right, then.
But sometimes you got to be quiet.
Sometimes you got to be quiet.
Sometimes you shh.
And the girl in the turtleneck that can still be sexy, too. You think she can figure out her way to still get attention from these men in a turtleneck?
She can. She can do a little turtle crop.
Little crop turtleneck?
Yeah.
Make it work.
Yeah, just show a little what we call midriff back in the day.
Oh, midriff. Oh, tummy.
Yeah.
Ooh, you showing your belly button, you getting sent home.
In trouble, correct. So you don't have to flash everything all the time. I always like to use our good sister Janet Jackson, who stayed covered up well into 93. And people forget that.
Because that's that Taurus sensuality. Yeah. We don't take much. Listen, thank you for rocking with us VIPs on this episode of RSVP with Jill Munroe. Thank you to Trent Jackson, Trent the Artist on Instagram and all social media for joining us every Wednesday as he does. I want you to have an amazing night and join us back here tomorrow, 9 p.m. Pacific time for more trending topics and headlines. When we come forward, the best of KBLA is on the other side. Have a great night.
Have a good night, everybody.